I may or may not be um, destroying my appearance on this podcast with the help of alcohol. So have fun with that.
Nice. All right, I'm just putting it up on Twitter.
All right.
I think we'll be able to start on time, but we're waiting for sleep mode, so I'll post it around.
Yeah.
Sleep mode is always late for this kind of fucking shit. I ain't even gonna lie.
Australia, I guess.
It's partially that, and that he's also just late. I've been on podcasts with him before, back when we did YurkiCast. So
True.
he's always been late.
I see.
Yeah, as soon as he gets here, we'll be ready. I really wanted him to be here too, because I know he's been like recently digging into YuYu Hakusho on SNES and like making a tier list for that, so he'll probably have some really relevant stuff.
Yeah, I've been seeing clips of that, but don't know much about it.
I did not realize he was getting into the game like that. Also, I'm guessing we are audible on stream.
Yeah.
At the moment? Okay. Let me actually host you on my channel.
Sick. I've never like swearing's okay on my channel. I don't remember if I've marked it as like what's Twitch do, like for mature audiences?
Mature. R-rated podcast. Gonna show my tits on stream.
Yeah, I think
All right.
the only thing that really matters is like maybe saying the F word or dropping.
Yeah, like basically racial slurs, or any kind of slur.
Don't slurs just get you banned?
Depends. Which things context matters sometimes, though.
I think like you can't say neck beard and stuff in chat. I don't know about like audible.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of weird stuff like that. Hold on.
Twitch is protecting the protecting the like minority of gamers. So
Yeah, the most oppressed group of all.
Gamers.
Yeah, people play on the PlayStation console.
Fighters Destinies players.
Man. There's like so much.
I can't believe people play that game. I got pinged for it on what was ACPR. I got pinged for it. I legit was like, I didn't type anything, but the first thought that came to my mind was, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Fighters Destiny.
Someone actually like
I didn't know what this game was. It's on N64, so that's a good sign.
Brilliant.
Well, it's kind of like a Toy Fighter, but not as refined, honestly.
Yeah, it's a worse version of Toy Fighter. Please play this game with me.
Toy Fighter's fun, but like that's a psychopath game. Like,
I feel like every game that like, listen, Alex Alchemy is a fucking homie, but every game he decides to make a tournament for has been garbage.
I think Dino Rex, this Dino Rex bit has gone on for way too long.
No.
It has.
He doesn't like he doesn't show tournaments for Dino Rex anymore. But unfortunately, because Theory Fighter used my footage, Dino Rex has gotten a bit of a renaissance. Which please stop.
Yes.
Please stop.
Yo,
playing
Dino
the game.
Renaissance, let's go. Dino Sweep.
Yeah, we should be getting people to I don't even know. What's a funny game?
Play
Kabuki Warriors.
Play Superior Soldiers.
I don't know. None of the games I play are funny. Play Samsung.
You literally play Second Impact.
Now listen here. Now listen here.
Bro,
I
am
don't
I
just
gonna have to
pl-
pull
I
up
don't-
like he has fucking unblockables.jpg?
Listen. I don't play Second Impact. I invented Second Impact.
Facts.
True. However, that doesn't stop it from being funny.
Okay, fine. You win this time. Play Alpha 1. Do not play Alpha 1. Actually, play Alpha 1. The game's actually legit funny.
I think I don't know if Miz played it. We've both played it. Like a lot of people in Yerky have played it.
I think.
You just like a You almost vomited saying your. We're burning all the bridges, huh?
Mm.
Like
I'm supposed to be like, pretending I'm keeping up good relationships with Yerky chat.
I'm keeping look, I don't know when the last time was I played Draco in something. He's a homie.
No, I can't, like, Draco is probably the best person.
I think Draco is like the one person besides you that I remember playing Alpha 1 with.
I played Alpha 1 with Draco, Vicky,
Joe, probably.
No, not Joe. Mug
moment. Where the fuck? Hold on.
I can't remember anyone else. Me and Vicky had that 3-hour set of Alpha 1 though. That was cool, I guess.
Alpha 1 seems fun, but like I like its system mechanics, but
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's pretty bare bones, but
yeah, I love the fact that it like has magic series for no reason, so damage is always pretty cracked.
Yeah, so like your hit confirm isn't even like short super, it's short forward super. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like playing Yang in 2i. But yeah, like it just like seems like a cool game, but it's just there's not much to it.
I think it's I think it's like I'll play Alpha 1 if someone asks, but will I remember Alpha 1 exists? Probably not. Anyways, Sleep Mode just isn't here, so to anyone wondering, in the stream, like, hey, when do you guys start talking? We're waiting for we're waiting
Nerd
for Sleep
emoji.
Mode.
I need to
I'm
like
excited for this podcast, but the waiting.
Oh no, I can't stand when these people talk about like Alpha 1.
I think I need to like find.
If they can't stand Alpha 1, then like with what I have in mind, then
Stream Dan Kuga, funny Canadian man.
I need to find like the post that inspired this because it was on Reddit, and that tells you a lot off the bat, I think. But
is it the developer's intention one?
No, I think this one was like comparatively tame. It's just like I think I'm gonna just put it up on stream. I'm gonna read it out too in case people just like watch this later. But hold on, I'm just gonna make this a little bigger. I feel like you are completely off on the balancing. Old games have terrible balance, and a lot of times there are 1 to 3 characters that absolutely dominate, 1 to 3 that are okay if you're really good, and a bunch of garbage. Old games are also way more likely to have characters that are just trash at everything. Clear strengths and weaknesses, in quotes, still happen plenty, only now those weaknesses are less likely to fully cripple the character. At least in a modern game, you're free to pick who you want and not likely to end up in much worse than the 7-3. Okay, that last part's kind of true, but it's like...
No. SF5. Let's talk about SF5 for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know
Honda
much about
versus
5.
Fang. Honda versus Fang is 8-2.
Is it?
Damn.
It's 8-2 in Fang's favor. There are multiple 8-2 matchups. And 7-3s in SF5.
Oh yeah, I remember I did watch that matchup once, and it looked absolutely miserable.
No, Honda can't do shit. Honda can't really go in.
Yeah.
And then there's Dawson Boxer. I don't think that's 8-2. That's not 8-2, but it's
That's not-
bad. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad for sure, but like I've seen like people play it still.
Yeah, no, like people will play matchups. People will play bad matchups. Like fucking look at Japanese ST. People will just play.
Yeah, I feel like usually now there's an aversion to playing like bad matchups, but I think also it's like you have a lot less in the way of actually fighting through the bad matchups. It feels like, because every character has a bit more well-rounded of a kit in a lot of games, and that ends up with the problem of like characters like in Strive, for example. And I don't want to talk too much about modern games on here because I think you kind of have to take old games as they are. But like in Strive, the top tiers all just have like better neutral and damage than most of the low tiers, or the low tiers
Or they have an overwhelming gimmick.
Characters.
Or they have an overwhelming gimmick.
Yeah, like Happy Chaos is there, but characters like, I don't know, like you have Ram who just has good neutral. Yeah.
Ram is strong, but she doesn't really have. I don't think she has like an overwhelming gimmick. It's not like, she's just a solid character.
Yeah.
Then there's Faust, who is a gimmick. Faust is a gimmick. Faust is a walking gimmick. He is ass. He was ass at launch, like arguably bottom one with Anji.
Yeah, because like when Faust is actually pretty good in most games, but that's normally either because
exert sign.
Sign. And they just
it's normally because of like a combination of his normals are really good and or his items are just OD.
Yeah, and they nerfed both those things in Strive because I guess they thought it wouldn't be fun to like figure out how to fight everything, and it's just
the items are
also
most of them are fine.
Also, when the sleep mode, where are you at? Hold on, let me yell at him in fucking sleep mode. Just add him. Don't say anything else. Just add him.
Just
summoning Australian. But yeah, I feel like with a lot of games, I guess Tekken is a lot better of an example. A lot of characters have like a similar enough game plan to where the low tiers are just doing less damage, or they have weaker or riskier mix-ups, and there's not much of an incentive to play them, right?
Yeah, like Tekken 7, I think really hit character bloat, because it feels like there's like every character does like theoretically have a unique aspect, but it feels like a lot, especially for the low tiers, like that aspect isn't really doing them any good, or there's like why would you like play, I don't know, Tekken characters actually, so
why would you play Gigas? Hello, sleep mode.
Like, why would you play Gigas when like Brian exists?
Because Gigas is funny.
True.
Shut up, sleep mode.
And also because I genuinely think that like the idea behind Gigas's mechanical design is interesting, even if it's not necessarily good.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
but
I guess now that everyone's here, we can like start properly. I mean, I don't know. I guess just to keep it simple, what's your guys' main games?
Super Turbo.
My main game is Akatsuki Blitzkampf.
Nice. Sleep mode. Don't worry, I hate this question too.
Look, I'm just gonna say that I have two main games at the moment, which are Guilty Gear Execs Accent Core Plus R and DNF Duel.
Nice. So you're gonna tweet this out, Bear?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I retweeted.
But yeah, I guess the first thing is like, what does balance even mean? Because I think a lot of people come into like a game with this idea that, because you'll always hear like, this game is unbalanced because it's got TODs or infinites or shit like that. And it's like, balance exists like within a game, right? You have to understand that. So when you look at the game and, you already come with an idea that this game is not balanced, then it, how do you actually define balance, right? I guess that's the first main topic.
So, who wants to go first? Because I have a pretty clear definition. for me at least.
You should go ahead then.
Yeah. So I think balance is just like the ecosystem of how characters interact within themselves in a fighting game. Not necessarily how characters in a game interact with other characters from other games. I don't get why people go, oh, X is unbalanced because, oh, there's TODs and infinites. Yeah, but how do those characters interact within themselves in their own game? That's what matters ultimately. How characters interact with themselves in their own game.
Yeah. And like,
I think that's sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, kind of to extend off that, it's also how characters interact with the system and how the system is built. Like, does it support a certain kind of archetype? Does it support characters who do high damage but have bad neutral and the like?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are both like pretty good, like at least like base points for defining what balance is, because like, yeah, I mean, look, there's obviously so many examples we can point to of like games where if you compare them to another game, it seems wildly,
unbalanced,
insane.
Yeah.
But you have to understand like how the game works, like it's its own, defining it as its own ecosystem, I think is really useful, especially, and I think Mibeador's point about how the characters interact with the system as well, I think is really useful, like whether or not the game system can support certain character archetypes or certain playstyles as well. I think the playstyle point is actually really important for something that we'll probably get onto later, because there's kind of more philosophical points about what makes a game well balanced, I think.
We'll probably get to that later and say it's about characters having independent strengths, because it's like obviously you want to like have every character do something unique or important. Now, who ends up being the most common, right? Because you can't really chase like having a perfectly balanced cast. That's not possible. But you can have relevant top tier matchups is the main thing.
To me, like the game, and I guess we're just gonna go head on when it comes to like games that don't have a cast of equal characters, but is still a balanced game. At least in my opinion, is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Because the thing about Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is that I think Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is, well balanced, even if it's not the most balanced game, because the ecosystem of its meta. So, the 12 characters, the really good assists, like 5 gods. The characters you'll pick out usually interact with each other in an amazing way. That in and of itself is a well balanced experience, even if the rest of the game ultimately really isn't, because you're not out here going to be picking serve bot. No point. Characters like Sentinel exist.
Even like what's an average character who just kind of doesn't have that like spice to them to succeed?
I'm
like Hayato.
Jill?
Yeah, I think Jill's a good example.
Jill's a good example because it's like
I think that like sorry, go.
You can go.
Like it gets complicated with team games, right? Because.
But like, I mean, I'm actually glad that Heather brought up Marvel 2, because that's literally the game that I was thinking of when I was thinking about like the philosophy of how you kind of describe balance, because like the age-old argument is like, because obviously like at a base level, a lot of people who don't really know a whole lot about fighting games or Marvel 2 specifically, will look at Marvel 2 and they'll see that only about like 5 to 10 of the game's like 50 character cast ever gets used in tournaments, and they'll think, wow, this game is so unbalanced because like only a fifth of the cast ever gets used. But the age-old argument against that, which I actually think is more convincing, like actually more convincing than you would think, is well, the game may not allow for the for every character to be tournament viable, but because of the way that the game works and the spread of characters that are tournament viable, you can still argue that the game is balanced because every playstyle is accurately represented just within that small section of characters and how they can be configured together. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Look at
like
that's
I
a
want to
good
say, like, sorry to
philosophy.
interject. I want to say, look
Go
at
ahead.
Magneto and Sentinel as an example. Look at Magneto and Sentinel in that game as an example. Magneto can rush down. His dash goes full screen. He can apply the most obnoxious mix and just ungodly situations of any character in the game. But Sentinel has to fly back and, hit you with the boot. Roundhouse. Fuck it. Who cares? Right?
Yeah.
Like, already within those characters, within that small group of characters, there are multiple playstyles you can play just within those characters. And they interact within themselves in a way that, games that people would call balanced would interact with themselves.
Yeah,
So
it's like you have so many
like,
layers, right, of interaction.
Yeah.
And that's important. Like you have all these different kind of active mix-up situations. You have these 50-50s, and you have this fast-paced neutral that makes things really interesting.
Yeah, but I also think looking at balance in the sense of how many characters are viable is too narrow of a thought process when it comes to just general balance discussions and how fighting games are designed.
Yeah, because like a better way to think about it is your play style represented in that viable cast?
Mm-hmm.
Because
to some degree, I do think that because, and again, this is like the philosophy. This is a very superficial in some ways kind of point, but I think that a lot of people might look at Marvel 2 because as much as having your playstyle represented is very important, and that's definitely the primary concern for Marvel 2. A lot of people might look at a game and they'll see a certain character that they think that they really like, because aesthetic resonance is actually really important, I think.
Absolutely.
For whether or not you want to play a character. And there are a lot of players who might look at Marvel 2 and they think, yeah, this game looks super cool, and they will play they'll try to play this game and
Venom.
they'll yeah, they might really like Venom, or they might like Rogue, or they might like Chun-Li, and it's like, oh, this character's fucking useless.
Oh man, imagine being a Chun-Li fan and not being able to find a game where she's good.
Imagine being a Chun-Li fan.
I know.
And it's funny you say that, right? Because in Marvel 2, she's bottom tier. She's arguably one of the worst characters in the game.
In Marvel 2.
She's one of the worst characters in the game. Chris Matrix thinks that outside of Roll, she's the worst. I'm pretty sure.
Damn,
that is harsh.
That doesn't surprise me. That character, Chun-Li, does literally nothing in Marvel 2.
Yeah, but it's there's so many ways players have, and this is my other point. The way balance is perceived in a fighting game is also it's also dependent on what a player base makes of the fighting game itself. Because ultimately, metas will not be built without actual players. And I think, when it comes to, I feel like certain games have this element of, it is really fucked up. And there is the potential that 3 characters could dominate this, specific fighting game, right? But are players really willing to open that up, start playing those 3 characters?
There's so many levels of it's both.
There's so many levels of
willingness
the players and the game itself.
It's willingness to play dirty, willingness or to grind things out, to do technical things with characters too. Those are both different sides of the same coin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the long term.
I will say there's, and not to already throw shade, which, unfortunately I'm going to have to do. I also think a part of
talk your shit, girl. Let's go.
I do think a part of BiPoverty games. Well, I think a big part of BiPoverty games end up having very unexplored metas and whatnot is because, simply put, players don't have the ability to actually lab shit out. That's important and practical. They think something's practical, turns out it's fucking useless. And there's so much shit that goes under the radar simply because players aren't able to actually sniff it out.
Actually, I have a great recent example of that with Gundam Battle Assault 2.
Nice.
In that, yeah, because the game has been getting a bit of it had a bit of a resurgence lately, and now we're holding starting to hold tournaments regularly.
By the way, I know there was a recent discovery about hit stun. Was that always known, or was that actually a recent discovery?
No, we learned that standing characters take 2 less frames of hit stun just recently.
Yeah, so that changes a lot.
So that's so what is it? So crouching characters take 2 frames more hit stun?
Crouching and aerial.
It's just like Third Strike.
2 more.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Aerial, that's
and it's a static value that doesn't change regardless of move.
But, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That weird esoteric is it reminds me of 2i because Ryu standing, and specifically Ryu standing, takes more block stun than any character in the game.
Damn.
So,
yeah, there's a similar thing with Q in Third Strike, right? He takes 3 or 4 frames more than everyone else.
It's Ryu, Q, and Chun in Third Strike, I'm pretty sure. But basically, if you do Dudley close heavy kick into EX machine gun blow on any other character, they can actually parry the first hit of EX machine gun blow.
But
Same
Ryu
goes
can't.
for Ryu can't. Ryu can't parry it. So he doesn't actually I don't know if it's standing or crouching, but it's one of the two where he just it's crouching. Where if he blocks a certain way, he doesn't get that punish.
Damn.
Straight up. And it's he misses out on very important punishes that every character in the game can get regularly. Akuma, as an example, right? If he parries the first hit if he parries, X machine gun blow in a way where he parries the last 2 hits in the air, he can get dive kick, stand roundhouse, raging demon as a combo. Does 70% on Dudley.
That's sick.
Ryu,
fucking 2i Akuma.
Ryu, jack shit. But if he blocks it a certain way, he might get and he pairs it the same way as the Akuma combo. He has jump heavy kick at a specific spacing, close spheres. Sometimes it drops. And DX donkey kick Denjin, and it nearly stuns Dudley.
Yeah.
There's weird stuff in these fighting games, but I digress.
And it's hard to quantify. That's what you mean about lab. Sorry, about lab time is figuring out your reliable punishes in situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, I'm curious. So, what were the ramifications of this hit stun discovery in Battle Assault 2?
Oh yeah.
To be honest, it's not the biggest deal because it's it has Magic series. But the major effect is that there's some characters who have to end their chains without a knockdown, like Sazabi. So if they're standing when they get hit, then Sazabi gets even less advantage. It goes from +2 to 0, and that's a big difference in a game where Sazabi's fastest button is 8, and some characters have 7 or 6 frames.
Yeah, Samsho frame data.
Yeah,
pretty much. That's Samsho is also. Go ahead, but I'm gonna talk about Samsho after this. I think.
And
there is actually, before we start talking about Sam Show, which I'm always down to talk about Sam Show.
I'm not.
But on this particular, I'll give you a little bit of extra time then. Okay, so I actually want to, but I think that point about you find something in the lab, it seems like a big deal, and it's maybe it's oh, okay, well, this actually wasn't nearly as important as we thought it was. I don't know if we're at that point, but as some of you might have seen, I've been spending a lot of time labbing a game for the SNES called YuYu Hakusho Final.
Yes.
This
is what I wanted.
Game. I think it's gonna be super lame eventually, but like lame in the sense that it's like it's gonna be a very like defensively focused game.
Me with
that sounds like my shit. That sounds like my shit. That sounds like my shit. Hold on.
Yeah, no, like legit dash block. Dash blocking is so fucking good. Like you can dash, you can block out of dashes, but early.
Actually,
great.
Fuck, that reminds me of another like fucking absolutely useless info, like tech when it comes to 2Y. So this was a very recent discovery. This hasn't been figured out, I don't think. None of the Skillsmith videos show it off. But if Raging Demon and another super happen on the same frame...
Oh yeah, I saw you posting about this.
Raging Demon startup, like the startup of Raging Demon happens, but the Super Flash doesn't. However, the Super Flash of the other super happens, and if he hit Akuma out of it, he gets blown up by the super, but he never spends the meter for Raging Demon.
Yeah.
So he gets a second chance of Kara Demon if he fucks it up. And someone does wake up super.
Oh wow, he gets a free Raging No,
he just
only
gets
it with
a
that.
chance. It just gets, and sometimes it doesn't even fucking work properly. Sometimes you just lose your meter.
The backup plan, TM.
Yep. But
I mean, if you're gonna commit to Kara Demon, you might as well.
Yeah, shoutouts to Aaron Plasma Sword in the chat, and I also constantly thank the various gods for Mia's no flashing ROM hack for Yu Yu Hakusho Final. That was actually made for the 2019 edition of the Kusoge Advent Calendar, by the way. Just a fun fact.
Your influence.
It was so great. Literally, Tyrone Summer was complaining about all the flashing, and within like half an hour, Mia's just posting in the KAC chat on the Discord, like, here's this ROM hack I made. What?
Yeah.
It was awesome. But
shoutouts to Kusoge Advent Calendar. Definitely a highlight of the year. I mean, man.
As to Hitbox I mentioned.
So good. On the topic of like sort of discoveries that were made, so like I've discovered a lot more about that game than I ever thought I would just by being in the lab. Like I discovered that for a while I thought that it's like, oh, okay, so Yusuke, the main character, like eats restand combos after certain characters throw him. Because of like, just there's something fucked up about like because the game has like air techs that you can do after any knockdown except for a throw knockdown.
Protagonist debuff.
Okay, so they just forgot to like set a flag somewhere, and shit happened. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like literally, it's like. I'm starting to think that there's a period of time where like during a throw knockdown, there's like maybe 1 or 2 frames where every character is considered standing during their throw knockdown just because they forgot, lol. That window lasts,
they don't make games like they used to.
Lasts longer. Yeah. Yeah, that window lasts a little bit longer for Yusuke.
You got me you got me interested.
That was actually I was actually going to ask. There was like a top tier Armored Sensui, right?
Armored Sensui. But like I initially wanted to move him down,
right?
Because so he can also get restands after eat restands after throw. And the difference between Yusuke and Armored Sensui is that Yusuke is like okay, I guess. He's got some pretty decent special moves. He can take advantage of a different bug I found out, which is that if you take a throw, like if you get thrown and you wake up facing away from your opponent and a meaty projectile is put on top of you, you can't block the projectile.
What?
I love fighting games.
What?
It only applies to projectiles too. You can't do like meaty normal on this like turned around wake up and it's unblockable. It's only projectiles. Yeah. Aegis, Yusuke in the club doing Aegis Reflector. Yeah, so it's specifically
Yeah,
Specifically, if you get
GG's.
specifically if you get thrown in such a way that you're facing away from your opponent and you try to block a meaty projectile, you can't block it. I don't know why, but you can't block it. And that's cool. It's like basically extra free damage after a throw if you can't combo after your throw, but it's there. Yeah, so the main difference between
Yusuke and Armored.
Yusuke and Armored Sensui is that Yusuke is like fine, like he's got a couple of decent buttons. Almost all of his standing close buttons whiff on crouches. So whereas Armored Sensui has absolutely fucked buttons. He has ridiculous anti-airs. Another thing in this game is that almost every character has one light button where they can cancel its recovery frames by crouching. And Armored Sensui's crouch cancel button is his standing light kick, which, because it's Sensui and the guy's like 80% leg, is fucking gigantic. And the crouch cancel is so quick that like if you start blocking it in the corner, like you're in jail. The only thing saving you from this practically infinite block string is the fact that the game doesn't have a timer, so he's gonna have to do something.
So we're talking like a cross between
basically it's execution error. Like an execution error happens.
Yeah, skill issue. It's literally
because the game doesn't
have a timer.
The game literally doesn't have a timer, so he's gonna have to do something unless he's just like trying to BM you and put you in.
I do that.
Like,
I do that.
I'll keep you in block stun here. I'll do it.
I do that. Press motherfucker.
You would grief the fuck out of people. Make them alt F4.
That's just I don't even know. Like it's it reminds me of like wobbling in Melee.
See, we could have a discussion about like rules, but I don't want to do that on this stream. To be honest,
that's for another time.
That is a can of worms.
Okay.
Facts.
So basically, the difference between Yusuke and Armored Sensui is that Yusuke is okay, Armored Sensui is fucked up, but he also eats restand combos after throws, and his restand window is even longer than Yusuke's.
Is it like 5-6 frames? It's like easy to hit, basically.
It's super easy to hit. Like it's so easy that like he can, if you can like whiff like a button and still get it, kind of thing. Yeah, it's super easy.
All right,
it's like there's a character who can like he'll throw you and he'll toss out his meaty projectile from like full screen and it will restand from there. Like this window is massive, and so I was like, damn, okay, that might actually be a pretty significant weakness for the character if you just fucking die after most characters throw you. And then T5, who introduced me to this game, was like, hey, so genuine question, who the fuck is winning neutral against Armored Sensui? And I'm like, you might be right. That's the what it is. Practicality of these,
what it is?
Practicality of these things, right?
It reminds me of Gil, where it's like Hugo can get a restand infinite on Gil, but who the fuck is letting you get in?
Yeah, and it's like
Hugo.
Neutral is such a factor. Neutral is like something you can't really predict.
No one plays it. No one fucking plays it. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I've people who are
admitted that like
I'm different. I would.
Like I've readily admitted that like all of my like findings and like thoughts on the game as it exists right now are based entirely on just lab work because I haven't had the chance to play the game with anybody yet. Please play this game with me. It's on Fightcade. It's
Australian
easy because it's a fucking Super Nintendo game.
How's the rollback for SNES games?
It's
from what I've heard from Big Zam, it's like pretty good now. I know it was real fucking dicey for a while, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot with like I don't know Joe or something. I don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Like, but yeah, so the SNES stuff works fine now from memory. It's worth giving a test, but yeah, no, it's. But yeah, that's the point I was making. Is just like there's this practicality of like, oh damn, so this character just fucking dies if you throw him. Yeah, okay, but like, are you actually going to throw him? Are you actually going to do that?
Yeah,
And it's like, well, we're at the point where we have to prove whether or not that's possible. But
yeah, it's like
the opposite of characters who are like, I have an infinite combo, but I'm never going to hit it because my neutral sucks.
Hugo,
Hey,
yeah,
2i Hugo.
So
that's 2i Hugo.
That's literally 2i Hugo. And Justin Wong, if you're watching this stream, do not pick that character, please. You're gonna give me a heart attack if I see that character on your stream. Please, it's no longer funny.
So that reminded me. I don't
made
know
that video and this like now everyone just knows. Oh, Hugo has infinite.
He did that to spite me.
Now I don't remember why I wanted to bring up Samsho before, but this is reminding me about like a lot of Samsho 3 bottom tiers, notably Amakusa, who has like terrible buttons except for 2D. And he has a teleport which swooses right in, but you can also grab him out of it in a game where like command grabs are very fucked up.
Well, if you have command grab, yes. Or if you're Zonkro.
Yeah. We're gonna say you gotta remember that like barring a couple of characters, normal throw startup is like 14 frames in that game.
Yeah, like Zonkro, like Zonkro can throw him out of
because he's got the teleport.
He's got the 8-frame one.
He's got like the 8-frame throw.
I'm wondering if Amakusa
which by the way, that's why that matchup sucks.
If you're like close enough, will you be able to grab him, or will he just like teleport through you?
Yes.
Will he teleport through you during your startup?
I've thrown the fuck out of Sludu before.
As like Zonkro or as other characters?
As Zonkro.
Other characters can't really do that.
No, other character. No.
Tragic. Yeah, Samsho 3 throws are such that whole game is like a very messy, but I think throws in particular are one of the funniest things in the game because it's like 14 frames. You hit throw and like they mash or they jump or they do anything. They circle step and you die.
I have a take about Samsho 3. Samsho 3 could have been that fighting game that was dominated by 1 to 3 characters, except no one played those 1 to 3 characters.
Mm-hmm.
Then the game was basically dominated by Slash Genjiro because you were either playing Slash Genjiro or you were complaining about having to fight Slash Genjiro.
Yeah, but no one fucking played Slash Genjiro past a certain point. Like what happened to me? I dropped Slash Genjiro for Zonkro and did better with Zonkro. What happened to M? She doesn't play the game. She like showed up to tournaments, but she didn't play the game like too much past a certain point.
Well, I think
past a certain point. At a certain point, she didn't. It's like
I think on that particular terrain of the discussion, it's like because the game could be like dominated by 1 to 3 characters, but the question then becomes whether or not that game is actually fun. Like,
and the answer I think is like no.
Also, Coast Champ. Just sorry to like respond to you in chat, but I say 1 to 3 characters. Because I do not think the Nakos are like worth playing in a meta with Slash Genjiro, Bust Genjiro, and Bust Halmaru.
Yeah,
if people played those 3 characters, every other character would be irrelevant.
A big problem with the tiers in 3 is also like there is such a gap between the tiers, even though we name them like A+ and stuff. It feels like it really is like S, A, B. Yeah, it's like you look at characters and like
it's more like SS.
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
It's just like the characters like the Nakos.
Cheatia.
Never
forget Cheatia.
Man, but seriously, like the Nakos really gatekeep like Bus Gyra or like. I guess to an extent, Galford, Bus Galford and other characters in that range, but like Zonkro doesn't have a problem with them either, I think.
Okay, so here's the thing about Zonkro, right? Zonkro is a very, very weird character because he is kind of a honestly, genuinely not super strong character, but he does gatekeep the fuck out of most of the cast simply because you can't back hit infinite him. And anyone who has a front hit infinite that they could land on Zonkro, he can throw you out of that setup. Hakusho. Yep. So like the only characters that can deal with him in his own like tier would be slash Shizumaru and then everyone better.
Yeah. So that's like, Bust Haomaru has no problem with him. Or like, I think Bust Haomaru definitely like wins a neutral against him, but it is pretty close. The problem is we haven't really played out that matchup much, right? Like who played Bust Haomaru to a decent level?
Bust Haomaru versus who? Zonkro?
Zonkro, yeah. What are your thoughts on
Bust
that?
Haomaru 7-3. Bust Haomaru fucking destroys Zonkro.
Damn.
Zonkro. Yeah. What he lands 5C and then Bust Haomaru can infinite you off of that? Nah. Nah. Your damage has to be off of 5A. Good luck. 5A or throw. And you're not getting close to Bust Haomaru. And you're not gonna be land and what the fuck's 5A gonna do? Like no, that matchup sucks. That matchup is terrible. Yeah. It's easily Zonkro's worst. He does better against slash Genjiro than Bust Haomaru.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the point that the point that that Sam Show 3 got to was that like obviously like with a game like Sam Show 3, I think interest is going to wane over time as the novelty starts to wear off, but and now it's just kind of like one of those little oddities. It's like I think that's the way that like Mikado and like I don't even know if Kohatsu plays the game anymore, but that's the way that Mikado treats it. It's just like Mikado only fucking like Mikado literally only boots up Sam Show 3 to play the Oyaji Zansam tournaments where everyone just plays an upper grade because it's funny.
Yeah,
I'm glad they still find that funny.
Yeah, but like actually, sort of playing the game in like a more quote unquote normal way.
Yeah, anything goes. Like playing the full game, because like playing upper grade is a joke where it's like obviously a few characters that have fucked up supers are the best. I feel like
it's like it's genuinely a way to put that game on top of its head. But honestly, it's funny for like 5 minutes and then it's not really.
Yeah. I think like even though 3, we exhausted a lot of options there. I feel like there's still a lot to explore in like the consistency of playing neutral, because we figured out the punishes. The punishes are the easy part. It's a neutral. It's like using spot dodges.
It's the neutral, and I unfortunately like, and this goes back to like how a player base can develop its meta. A lot of people who played Sam Show 3 in general is a game where if you're good at fighting games, if you're good at fighting games, you're worse at Sam Show 3. So we need someone who is so bad at fighting games, they are godlike as Sam Show 3. And for that, we nominate Mikado.
Man,
except for when they play Fatal Fury, we're not touching them.
This is
we
why
could look through like a 3x5 Diamond League.
Facts. This is why I wanted to, I did that one stream where we looked at like Samurai Tyson 2022, and that was okay. People were like playing the game genuinely, but it was clear that like, because no one actively practices the game there anymore, really.
Yeah,
or at least no one attending was.
Yeah, because it's like you could tell like there was a knowledge difference between there was a genuine knowledge difference between us and Japan in that game. But the problem is, we have the knowledge difference. How are we fucking applying it? We're not. We're not. People lose to Bust Hanzo. We're not. We're not applying like Bust Hanzo sucks.
Just hold back.
I was right. I was fucking right. Why are you like? What is your game plan? What is your game plan when your plan A like doesn't work? It doesn't work out. What, you're gonna try to kill Bust Hanzo when he actually has his game plan now? Like, Bust Hanzo sucks if you stop approaching the moment he gets rage. Because what, you're gonna get crossed up now? Like, you ate random cross-ups because you tried to kill Bust Hanzo when he could kill you even easier. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I'm salty that people lost to that character.
I think like the thing I wanted to bring up with Sam Show is like diversity of play styles. Because Sam Show, most of the games, I think, well, this is weird. I think like 5 Special in particular, which is like the game I think that people are most familiar with, maybe 7 depending on like when you got into it. Neither of those games I feel like really have a rushdown character. I guess 5 Special has like Rera.
Rezetsumaru as well.
Yeah, and Resetsumaru is like
Yeah.
low tier, but the thing about that game is that you have such strong systems that anyone can turn things around unless you're like Nakaruru, who just doesn't have
Doesn't do
damage,
damage.
or like Enja, who doesn't have movement, even though he does kill you with Rekka. It's just like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it could be Escadora, but how many people are Escadora?
There's only one, as far as I know.
Yeah, but like even then, I think 5 Special is such a balanced game, even though there's no like rush down, because a lot of characters have that threat at a certain range where you have like the mix up, you have roll forward into various specials, you have run up throw. Everyone has something like that going for them.
I will say that, now that we're actually like starting to talk about like retro fighters, and balance in retro fighters,
you're going to talk about
do you
Super
want to
Turbo?
like? Can we like have a starting point?
Yeah. Okay.
And then
so
go from like, let's go from a starting point.
I say, and we can actually like go back
with World
to
Warrior.
I mean,
talk about
World
World
Warrior
Warrior.
was like not very balanced at all, really. I was actually going to skip
It's
the
not.
CE, but if you want to like specify,
let's quickly talk about World Warrior because it is a very quick meta to talk about.
Guile.
World Warrior is a game where there are two characters, Guile, and then you didn't pick Guile fast enough, so you went to Dhalsim.
No mirrors moment. Fucking
yeah, there are no mirrors. There are no mirrors, and there are only two characters that are worth playing. Guile wins against every character in that game. He doesn't even go even against Dhalsim. He wins against every character in that game.
It's funny because like Sim became a terrible matchup for him later on. Right?
Yes, like very terrible. But like Sim can kind of he can slide under booms and sort of play neutral against Guile. It's just that it was still Guile. So ultimately Guile was the best character in the game. What about every other character? Well, Zangief's number 3, but Zangief versus Guile and Zangief versus Dhalsim.
Yeah.
Also Zangief versus Honda for some reason.
It paints a very grim picture because it's the fact that like Ryu and Ken are terrible in World Warrior. It will never be lost on me.
Bottom two.
Yeah.
They really said fuck you. Look at all these new characters. All right.
But yeah, let's move on to C. But CE is where balance is a little bit more sophisticated, I would say.
Yeah,
I'm starting to get.
I mean, you add
the idea that they need to.
You add more characters. You like refine the character kits a little bit. I mean, did CE introduce a few special moves, or was it just like balance stuff?
It was mostly
balance and introduce and letting
letting you play the boss characters.
CE was mostly like balancing and like bug fixes and letting people play as the boss characters
and mirror matches, but.
Yeah, and mirror matches, because all of the new special moves didn't come in until hyper fighting.
Right, and hyper fighting was like them trying to tackle the bootleggers and stuff, and that's all interesting. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, CE's balance is genuinely fine. Like we go over the top tiers, and it's like Sagat, Ryu, Guile,
Dictator.
Dictator's good, but like it's kind of an arguable point with like Dictator because
Dictator's kind of borderline.
He's cheap as fuck.
Is it also because of his lack of reversal, or is it more complicated?
You can fuck him up in so many different ways as well. If you corner Dictator, so here's the thing about cornering Dictator on your own side. So if P2 Dictator is cornered on P1 corner, or vice versa. If you do a meaty, and because he has no reversal, he kind of has to hold this. He will be hit the other way. It's an unsuitable cross.
Side specific corner cross up stuff.
Yeah,
and like in particular, you got characters like Dhalsim who can absolutely fucking destroy the shit out of Dictator for it. because you're gonna do drill.
You just do like meaty drill.
You do drill, and if you delay it by like an unstable amount, you're suddenly dealing with a 50-50 that'll stun you.
Set play, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard for its dictator has to hold it. It's not like, I mean, it works on most characters. Like the Dhalsim one works on every character. Every character suffers from this whole like side switch bug thing, right? But Dhalsim can abuse it in particular because he can hit you with drill and mummy, and that fucks you up really bad.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video on that.
So I would say like CE in itself is actually pretty balanced, but in every character I feel is viable. But the weird thing about SF2 is I think it's really hard to actually say a tier list matters in SF2. And it's because of how characters interact with each other in that game. It is very much rock, paper, scissors.
Matchup dependent game, right?
Incredibly matchup dependent, yes. So, I could say like, it's easy to look at matchup spread of a certain character and go, oh, you're really fucking good. But and obviously it's kind of like that. Like a better character will have a good matchup spread, but there's still the toolkit behind it. Like CE Dictator is obviously very strong, but he doesn't have the best matchup spread. It's like he loses to Guile. Zangief can kind of stun him. Honda deals with him really well. There's, these specific cases, matchup wise, that it's like SF2 as a whole, past World Warrior obviously, ends up becoming more of a look at the matchup spread of your character rather than the tier list. It's to a point where like hyper fighting, if you ask any hyper fighting player what the tier list is, you get like 10 different answers.
Yeah, I think people like intimately know how normals interact in that game, and that's really cool.
It's 100%. It's like I was playing against my friend. He picked Dhalsim and played Dictator in ST though. Stan Roundhouse was doing all the work for me because that can beat normals that Dictator throws out. So that Dhalsim throws out. It's like you have to like look at the matchup spread instead of the tier list when it comes to SF2. It's balanced in the sense that like any character can really be picked. CE has an exception though, obviously, because not everything's perfect. CE has Boxer, and
Boxer in a world without a headbutt, without lower rush,
or without numbered tap, mind you. And tap wasn't even fireball invul in CE. So he ended up having matchups that he just lost to.
Like he could not do anything.
He could not do anything against Guile. Guile was like genuinely like, if you ask someone, people would legitimately go, that might be 10-0. Not in the sense of like Boxer definitely can't win. In the sense that Boxer definitely can win, actually. Who am I fucking kidding? Like Boxer,
Boxer that's not that he can't win, it's that he can't win.
He can't. No. But like, then you go to hyper fighting, and the balance is actually like much better. The balance is actually much, much better. Every character can be played in that game. Yeah, even Dictator, as much as I shit on him.
I think the difference in like speed especially makes a game, because it's like when it gets to a point where there's so many things that are like hard to react to and you have to make educated guesses in neutral, it becomes a lot easier for a character to kind of rob, I guess, in a sense.
That's why I don't think CE Dictator is top tier in CE, because it's easy to react to his approaches. Mm-hmm. Like he can't head stomp you unless you throw fireballs like Shodo's or whatever, right? Because it's like you can just beat him out. He does Psycho Crusher, you can just DP on reaction. There's him trying to approach you is actually a lot harder in CE because you can react to everything. Now, in Hyper Street Fighter 2, the anniversary edition, CE Dictator is a lot better. A lot better. And it's not because his toolkit got changed. In fact, his toolkit's even worse than his CE counterpart, because based on the Japanese one, which got nerfed.
It's just because of the game speed. That's really interesting.
Game speed makes it so much harder to actually deal with CE Dictator that he actually becomes much better. You could actually definitely argue, I would say he's top tier, now that I think about it. I would say he's top tier in Hyper Street Fighter 2. But in CE, you can kind of sniff him out.
So
you can react to stuff.
What we're saying is bring back turbo modes to fighting games. They'll make your game more balanced by default.
Well, you're right. Or unbalanced, depending on the character.
Unbalanced, but fun.
No, hyper fighting is actually more balanced because a lot of the toolkit additions definitely helped certain characters. But a lot of how that game interacts with each other is it's a lot more natural. Matchups are a lot more fair. It's really hard to say that there are 9-1 matchups in hyper fighting. I mean, I don't think there definitely are in CE because Boxer exists, but in hyper fighting it's a little bit harder. And these 9-1 matchups, they're weird cases. I'm talking Zangief has 2 9-1 matchups in my opinion. Is Zangief good? Fuck no.
Which
Fuck
Zangief,
no.
versus who? Because
Zangief versus Boxer and Dictator.
Yeah, we're talking
specifically those two.
We're talking Hyper Street Fighter 2, or we're talking hyper fighting?
No, hyper fighting.
Okay,
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hyper fighting. Those two characters, Zangief, you should never lose against those two characters as Zangief. It is to the point where even incredibly good players play against Zangief, they lose. Like, what does Dictator have to do? Oh, he does scissors. SPD. Now you're in the loop. Oh, Boxer wants to go win. Oh, Zangief has Lariat and stand jab. Oh, but now you're in. Let me SPD you. Oh, you don't have reversal. Oh, for you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to, SPD those two characters to death the moment I get a knockdown, and getting a knockdown is so easy as, either of those characters. But as far as the rest of the game goes, Dictator can actually fight some of the better characters better than some of the good characters can fight the better characters. Boxer actually does decent against Fireball characters because tap level 1 and 2 are invul in this. They're invul in this game. So he kind of has a reversal, you would think. I was like, but how? What? Like, so level 1 and 2 tap is like invul. Why doesn't he get out of Zangief anyway? Yeah, don't test it. Lariat still beats that shit. But hyper fighting. Like, I think as far as Street Fighter 2 goes, I think the balance is actually a lot better than people make it out to be. I think people focus on these specific edge case matchups, or these specific edge case matchups.
Yeah, and stuff like Honda Ryu, and it's like just switch off characters. That's a thing you can and should do.
I wouldn't. I don't think it's like. There's like edge case. There's like I wouldn't say like Ryu versus Honda is like the matchup I would point to when it comes to Honda.
True.
I'd say Honda versus
it's like
DJ.
An easy example.
Honda versus DJ. It's an easy example, but I get what you mean, right? It's like there are certain matchups in ST where it's like they're really bad, but those are edge cases. That's not the norm. It's like,
or like we were talking about earlier. Dalsum Guile, right?
Dalsum and Sagat is one of the few 9-1s in ST. But it's like the only. I think it's probably the only 9-1 in the game. There's these like really terrible matchups that people go on about ST. It's like rare cases, genuinely, because I think the game itself is more balanced than people give it credit for, and it's because people who play ST at a more casual level end up losing to cheap shit like throw loops, and it's like it's because you don't play enough to get the reversal window.
I think that's important too. Is like with older fighters, things aren't going to change, so you have to be determined to find the good spots in every single matchup.
Yeah.
And I think that like actually that point of like polarizing matchups is like I think it's really interesting that people would actually point to, you know, like characters with really polarizing matchup spreads like Honda in ST and point to that as making the game somehow like unbalanced or whatever. Because like we're getting into obviously we're getting into like real esoterics here where it's like, well, what the fuck do you mean by it's balanced or not? But it's
balance,
like
reducing balance to like yes or no, right, is not the way to go for me.
Like for me, it's like if you want to argue that like a game having 8-2 or 9-1 matchups is a sign of it being unbalanced, then why do you call then why aren't you calling SF5 unbalanced? You know, that game has like Honda Fang.
Yeah. Well, like actually the point that I was going to make is that Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R has a character with a very similarly polarized matchup spread to Honda and ST, and that's Justice. So Justice is this like Justice is basically like a really like strong zoner, but she goes all in on the zoning. So she's got like
she can't play.
She's got like terrible. She's got like terrible movement speed. Like she can kind of play close range. Like she's got a pretty good overhead, and she does have like some reversal options. But
other characters do it better than her.
But because she goes so hard on the zoning, and specifically because she has like no movement options outside of like one special move that costs meter. She has a very similarly polarized matchup spread to like Honda. Like I don't think it's necessarily to the same degree as you know, Honda's matchup spread at ST, but she is definitely a very like polarizing character where people are like, your character is either going to like get fucked up by the nukes and you have to work super hard to get in against her and then keep her locked down, or you just get around her shit for like almost free, you know, and then you just fuck her up.
This also feels like
people don't point to like Justice's matchup spread and use that as a point about how like Plus R is unbalanced.
Well, like when people want to talk about call Plus R unbalanced, they just do Testament clips.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to call it,
that's my hot take. Testament is not even that. Testament is not nearly as much of a problem as people talk about them being.
I think the thing that like, you know, grinds my gear is like about like ST, right? Is that what like, oh, ST is so unbalanced. Okay, why is it unbalanced? Throw loops. No, you just suck. Like, no, straight up, I'm just gonna say it. No, you just suck. If you're losing to throw loops like that, like boxers doing crouch medium kick, walk up throw on you repeatedly, you just suck. Like,
well, I mean, I think a pretty like
without established
revelatory.
If you're not doing
a pretty revelatory moment for me was when I was talking about this, like, haha, it's so funny that clip where Damdai is like, why do you like ST? Well, it's because I always feel like I have options. Then it immediately cuts to him getting like fucked up by the Vega wall dive loop, and then you're just well, technically he did have an option. He just had to hit the reversal window. And I'm like, damn, you're right, actually.
Yeah, no, he did. Like, I don't get why people go like, oh, but Damdai was actually helpless. He didn't feel helpless regardless because he knows what he can get out of that like option with, and because
you just have to accept that if you fuck it up, that you fucked it up. Like
because Mao is insane, right? Those wall dives are hitting so ambiguously that you don't know if you've inputted like the DP right. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And that's like those subtle, unnoticeable things. So like the things that you won't notice if you're not like intimately familiar with the game, right?
Yeah, right. And it's like there's stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna like, why would you like the typical answer for like why people think like ST is unbalanced is, oh, you know, throw loops. Okay, no, you just admitted that you can't hit the reversal window. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Next point.
Yeah, moving on.
I think it's like easy to be put into a situation where like, because hitting reversal is hard compared to newer games, so people will just like assume that's the nature of the game.
It's harder. It's harder in Alpha 2 and Third Strike. You can't piano inputs in that game.
Damn.
You can't, like, the thing is, right, it's like, ST reversals are 1 frame. They're more like 6. Because, you know, you get the 3
bunches, and then you negative edge him. That's 6 whole frames. That's 6 whole inputs.
Yeah, it's still a 1-frame window, but you have 6 chances to hit the 1-frame window. It's not like Alpha 2 where you have to tap it on that frame.
Damn. And
So,
the thing that like mentioning justice made me think about is like why zoners are so successful in a lot of games is their ability to not commit too much into like reposition, which is something that Justice has like FRC nukes, but because she lacks the movement options, you're not really going to be moving from that spot. You're going to throw nukes until they get in or they die.
Oh.
And
you know who this is reminding me of?
What?
Actually, this is going to be another obscure pick.
This is Fritz,
reminding
right?
me of Fritz to a degree because he's effectively a zoner. But I was thinking like this is an extreme because Heavy Arms in Battle Assault 2.
Yeah.
Because he has like Iron Man smart bombs on crack. Where he literally fills the entire screen with them, and you can't get in on. You have to wait until he does one of 3 moves that leave a small gap, and after that is RPS on how he tries to counter you getting in on him. But I don't think he's that bad, entirely because the smart bombs don't do chip.
Yeah.
So he has to commit to one of his options to do chip on you. And like, sure, if he has a life lead, he can like, he literally invalidates characters. But at the same time, like, he's a top tier, but the other top tiers can all deal with him. Rose, my main, like, does get zoned by him. But once he does leave the gap, Rose has like one of the best movement speeds in the game, so he can dash in. And if you get the read right, then you're in on Heavy Arms, and he has the worst Abare in the game. And now it's on him to get back out.
Yeah.
So like I feel like in a similar way, like that's kind of like the Domdai thing where, you know, it's like I feel like I have an option even though like it looks like I'm just getting horribly zoned and getting killed.
Yeah, it's like you have that option, but you wouldn't. But as a spectator and as someone who's not intimately familiar with the game, it's very hard to actually talk about those moments. Like, so yeah, like obviously, okay, throw a loop to can't reversal. What was the second point I made? Polarizing matchups, edge cases. Claw as a character. Okay, fair enough. Claw's cheap. Claw's cheap.
We didn't really
I will
talk
make a
about
defense.
Like Super Turbo as a game and like its balance. It's also pretty balanced, and like the tier list is a bit clearer, I think.
You know what I think? You know what's a thing that I will parrot about about ST is that the tier list doesn't actually matter. And proof number 1, matchups. How matchups are, dictated in ST. It's more about a matchup. Look at your character's matchup spread before like going into a match, and you will know how to you will know if you're fucked or not, right? Obviously, to some degree, the matchup spread will affect, how good a character is, really. Like that's unavoidable. But ultimately the tier list doesn't really matter. But proof 2 is how many actually successful Osagat players are there in North America in ST?
Damn.
What ultra combo? Yeah, because most Osagat players, go, oh yeah, I play ST, then they play Osagat and they have the worst fucking anti-airs on the planet. Like,
that's a really common thing, right? Like a lot of people who don't play ST think that like they can just get carried by old Sagat.
No, they can't. No, they can't. Okay. I'm just gonna jump in on you. Like, I don't care about your fireball game because you haven't established that you can throw fireballs well. I don't care about your anti-air game because you can't fucking DP. You can't even press stand roundhouse, which is the easiest thing to anti-air with. You can't walk back sweep. You don't got neutral. You fucking suck with the character. What is your point? Like, play a different character. Just play Claw if you want to be cheap.
It's a question about you can't judge like how to pilot a character unless you actually play the game. It's that simple. Someone can explain it to you, but you're not going to get it.
Like you have to play those you have to play that character to actually. You have to play the game first of all to actually get good with the character. You're not really carried an ST because like think about how many fucking like fake Claw players there are.
Yeah. And
It's
another
like,
thing, like
Claws can kind of shit wins on like players who are better than them, but it's like, how often is that happening? Because none of you are Hokuto, none of
'Cause
you
it's
are
like,
Mao.
on it,
Like-
on its face, right? Like, you know, maybe I don't know if Claw has any like losing matchups, but everyone
He doesn't.
knows
He
about
doesn't.
like everyone knows how to deal with a lot of Claw's things, or at least like what he's going to try and do, and like that's the thing compared to like a lot of
Yeah, it's
characters. I
like-
think Claw is so well known.
Yeah, like
yeah, it's like actually that's
like-
like a big factor in like character balance too, is that like when a character is more common, then everyone knows how to fight them better.
yeah, like obviously Claw is genuinely an extremely good character. He's the best character in the game. No one's gonna sit there and go like, oh, Claw might be arguably top 2. Like Dawson might be no one like people are gonna say Claw's the best character. I mean, as much as people are gonna like for some reason argue who the like, I'm sorry for hurting your feelings because I think Dalsim is number 2 and not Chun, but we all agree what the top 5 is. Like, please drop the argument. like we all know who the 5 best characters in ST are. There's no point in arguing that, right? But I think a lot of the people who talk about how shittily balanced ST is, a lot of the times you guys don't play ST, and you guys aren't familiar with ST enough that you can be making educated like claims about that game's balance.
Another
Because
thing,
all you're doing is admitting you're not very good at ST. All
something
you're
I think that
admitting
is
is that
like,
you're not familiar with ST.
that's interesting about ST, like especially when you go watch like older tournaments, is how many good Ryus there were in that game. Like Ryu, he's so effective for like being a basic character, right? And that's something I think like that is kind of rare now. I don't know, but
I think there were a good amount of Ryu players in ST. There still are. Like, because like before it would be like Damdai, DGV, like definitely a few more that I'm just blanking out on.
I mean, even like Daigo played him for a while, right? Before playing like Boxer.
Daigo played Boxer and Ryu, but he was more known for his Boxer, I want to say.
Like there's plenty of footage out there.
And then in Japan, you got like a shit ton of Ryu players, like obviously the legendary Fuda-chan, who was fucking amazing at that game, like easily the best Ryu in the world. I'm pretty sure. It's like in like Japan, when you look at like Japanese ST, you got like so many players who play their main at such a high level. Like Geef, you got like TMF. Claw, you got Mao. Boxer. Fucking Suji.
There was one really good
Like,
Geef, I think. Like I remember Pony, right? Does he still play or not really?
Pony, I've not seen him in like ages, but Pony is incredible. That game, yeah.
Yeah.
Gunze is incredible. Obviously, I mentioned TMF. Stomach Momio. Like, there's so many incredible like players for their characters, for their mains in ST, that it's like, I don't know if like in North America people will just go top tier, but in Japan people will actually stick to their main and play them at such an incredible like level that it's honestly admirable. And obviously there's players in NA that play their characters, that play their mains at a high level. Geef and Hawk actually have like some very, very good players. Geef has like Anthony, Mega Man X8, Cigar Bob. Vodka's been fucking tearing it up recently. Or, you got Hawk, you got Mukas, you got Papercut, Damdai when he used to play Hawk. Damdai when he used to play Geef.
Man,
Damdai used to main Geef.
I think that's another factor, is like so few games have this depth of like knowledge and like history to them and resources. Like a lot of games of like a similar age.
Rizwan.
Yeah.
It's why Rizwan. It's why Rizwan, started Super Lore Boys and got so many top ST players to talk about their history with ST, and it's because ST as a game has such a rich history and so much to actually talk about. in regards to a player's journey with the game, and even players who haven't been playing for the longest time have a deep history with the game. Because like obviously you got players like because Damdai and Mars, they started earlier than most players. They started with like HDR. Like around HDR came out, that's when Damdai got into it. That's when Marscotti got into it.
Interesting, yeah. So there's like
obviously
between,
Damdai played at
there's like a
There's a
10-year
gap between
difference, right? Something like that.
between like something like that. Ultra Combo's actually really young. Ultra Combo he just turned 30 actually. Or
Wow,
he's
nice.
either he just turned 30 or he's like slightly younger than 30. The Ultra Combo's young, like not even his 30s yet. Like who are some other top players who are like not in their 30s yet? Like Hokuto is like late 20s. Like there are players who obviously have not been playing for the same amount of time as like, maybe some other top players who might currently still play.
Yeah, because like some people have been playing the game for literally 20 years, 25 years.
I think Matsun started with the like World Warrior.
Yeah, there are people who have been literally playing since the inception of Street Fighter 2. I do want to take a look at like specifically what Guile Winquote's saying here, though. I want to poison the well a little bit and bring up a different perspective on a game that has a popular perception of being pretty balanced. Snugglegun's the best Lele player in NA, one of the best VSAT players in NA. Once told me that the only reason he plays Lele is because the level of play doesn't demand him to pick a better character yet, along with others in NA playing lower tier characters. And yeah, that's a good point. Like Anakaris, for example, this is an interesting thing. Ana is missing like system mechanics, like he's missing a regular throw and push block, and he has positives. But I think like not being able to get out of pressure like that is huge in VSAB. And it's like the level of play in different regions and the accessibility of players is like a big factor for that improvement.
Yeah, it's going to like the region and how the region approaches a game is going to dictate what that meta looks like. And, obviously you can go over like so many different ways on how different regions can play a different game. What characters are more popular in what regions? To bring it back to like ST for a little bit, right? In Japan, they don't really play old characters. It's not really seen as actually like they have a very, very negative outlook.
There's like an attitude that they're not part of the game intentionally, right?
They're not really part of the game.
As a bonus.
Not really part of the game. Yeah. They also see Ulsagot as a handicap, even more so than Claw. But
that's crazy.
It's like it's like you got a lot of these like Japan doesn't like playing old characters. They also have a massive they also have a massive like what's it called? They have a massive tendency to like loyalty pick. They'll be loyal to their mains.
Yeah, you're talking
in
about
North America, but North America, they pick top tiers. They counter pick. They, it's why you see so many people in North America very shamelessly. Not to say there's anything shameful to pick Ulsagot. I would shame you, but there's nothing like in North America. There isn't any much like shame in picking like Ulsagot or Old Ken.
I think like the shame is only in the sense that you're looking for an easy way out. But I think if you're like really looking at it and seeing like this is my best option, or like this matchup I'm going into is so bad that I want to like pick a different character, then it's understandable.
It's different, yeah. But like in North America, people will pick Old Ken, Ulsagot. You never see them in Japan. It's to the point where like there's a player who's incredible. He's an incredible Ken player, but because he plays Old Ken, he's not really seen too highly. Just because he plays Old Ken in Japan.
Yeah, that's like to us like that's kind of whack, but it's not really like you're wrong for thinking that way. You can't say that.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Like it's just a different how different regions play ST or how different regions view ST. Like Japan will say like, oh, Europe plays ST properly. More than NA does. And honestly, Europe is better than NA and ST. But, like, that's besides the point, right? like but then you go to KOF 2000 and you got like Korean rules for that game. Like Korea plays that game way differently, or net play rules in Samsho 4.
Yeah, right? I was going to talk about Samsho. People say that in 3 too. Like I think Lava Level Lover, a good player from I'm trying to remember where from. Singapore.
Singapore.
He was saying like people would like, I believe, like not do infinites and stuff, and it's like, well, to me, I think if you're playing a game, especially a game like Samsho 3, where like all the broken stuff is so obviously on its face broken, you just play the game with that intact. Or like, if you don't like it, play a different game. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's weird because part of me was like, I saw the people like, you know, when we initially had the idea of banning top 5, go like, oh, finally I'm a little bit more interested in Samsho 3 because, you know, the top tiers are banned. Maybe there's a little bit more balance. None of you fucking registered for the tournament.
Yeah, I literally did not have enough people to run that. There were like 3 entrants, and I didn't feel like entering it just to like say it could happen. I wanted that to be like bigger.
Yeah, no, it's like I don't know. For me, it's when you play a game like Samsho 3 or SVC Chaos, right? Those games are so obviously broken. Why are you trying to
SVC Chaos? By the way, don't play it.
Play SVC. Play SVC
because like the closest analog I can think of to the idea, and I think what inspired the idea to potentially look into like, you know, banning the top 5 in Samsho 3, at least for like maybe a specific kind of tournament, was a similar thing that happened with
Melty
Blood Actress Against Current Code, where because it's been known for years now that F Hime and C Roa are like bar none the best characters in the game, like almost game, like not quite game destroyingly good, but like they are so much better than even the characters directly below them that like it got to a point where the player base in Japan was like, well, you know, we're kind of encroaching upon the point where players, where it's like, you know, these 2 characters,
it's like
this is going to be like, this is going to be like, you know, the closest analog I can think of is like Brawl, Meta Knight versus Ice Climbers.
Man,
like, it's that kind of. These two characters are Melty Blood, and the fact that, and like the thing is that nobody, it's like Melty Blood's kind of in a unique position here because like obviously there's a point where it's like not every, like obviously these 2 characters are so good, but not everybody wants to play those 2 characters, but the systems of Melty Blood are like so fun and unique and unlike anything else, and this scene has been going for so long that
they're willing
people
to
people aren't just gonna be like, well, you know, I'm just gonna go play something else because clearly this game has evolved beyond what I wanted it to be. But also, Melty Blood, Current Code in particular, is in a really good position to do something like this because, like, the moon system means that there's, like, fucking 10 billion characters in that game.
You can still play Roa.
You can very easily find someone else. Yeah.
Like, if you were like, oh, but I still want to play Roa. Okay, I'm just going to play F Roa then. Or H Roa.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and, like, they're effectively... I'm going to
there's, like, 3 of every character, and it's, like, most of the time you're just going to pick like your most top tier variation.
This is the thing about like groove systems in general. And I was actually like, I was thinking of bringing up CVS2 during this stream because Boss put out a tier list in like 2020.
That is a game.
Right.
That is a game that is actually weird when it comes to talking about balance.
You have to kind of think about it as like individual characters and like the groove, because you don't have to worry about every groove being viable. Grooves just provide options, right? It's like having special moves. A character can be...
there's still S groove.
Yeah, I like
S groove still.
I've seen exactly one guy
but like
play
a character...
S groove in tournament. I've seen 2 guys play S groove in tournament.
The thing is,
it's entirely just to be an annoying shithead.
There is one person who plays S groove in tournament. His tag is Snake.
Base.
And that's it. It's only him. Everyone else, they're gonna play like.
I think
like
when
N
you
Groove
when you
or
tackle a
N Groove
game like
or whatever.
CVS2, right? Like when you look at grooves, you look at them as like
But
providing tools
it
and
wasn't
like
really.
yeah, you don't have to like pursue a game where like all the grooves are balanced or like a good choice. That doesn't make any sense to have. There's just too many variables there. You have to look at like how many
But there's three
characters.
grooves. There's three grooves
I mean, even
that are
on
viable though.
There's three
even on
grooves,
the
and
vast
those
tier
grooves
list,
actually.
right? Even on his
Those,
tier list,
those
he lists
grooves
like
actually,
he lists each character's best groove, and some of them are like K, C, A. Obviously, a few of them have N listed, which is kind of interesting
That's
to me.
fine. That's fine because N Groove is like genuinely decent. It's genuinely decent.
I'm gonna throw this up on the stream just to like make it easier.
N Groove is the jack of all trades groove. N Groove is the groove that can do a little bit of everything, but it can't do any one thing particularly well.
It's morally acceptable C Groove.
Yeah.
It's like no one's gonna call you cheap for picking N Groove, but like you still want to roll cancel.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I think that's in a sense, the groove system ended up balancing CVS2 more because roll canceling ended up balancing CVS2.
Yeah. And like if you want
that
to play
game would have been
like an easier stable
that game would have been
play,
dead in the water without
K-Groove.
roll cancel.
I mean, what do you think happened to CVS1?
Yeah, exactly.
It got killed because of EX Nakaruru and not EX Nakaruru. He's not EX Nakaruru. EX Boxer and Nakaruru.
The struggle of making Nakaruru a good character. Don't do it.
They made. She wasn't just a good character. She was corpse hopping 50-50 vortex plus unblock good. She was. I also have healing, by the way. I'm an annoying bitch.
I've never even seen her in that game, so
Nakaruru is like genuinely
soft hand. Anytime you see
playing a different game. Playing a different game. But the thing is, it's like 2i Ibuki, where it's like you kind of need to know how to play Nakaruru for her to be super duper cheap. But it's like partially it's because people are too we're lazy. Like no one really wants to learn Ibuki. No one really wants to learn Nakaruru. I'd learn Nakaruru. I'm a dick. But
and that's making me think Third Strike, right? I mean, Third Strike is another big game where people, I think, overplay how good the top tiers are because it's like obviously Chun and Yun are the best, but
Yun. I mean, to some degree though, just like when people talk about Chun, people talk about how many characters can actually fight Chun, and it's not much. Not many characters can actually fight Chun, but Ken can fight her best, and it's because without meter, Ken can kind of do shit. But people have also approached that matchup a little bit wrong, where it's like, obviously people hear, what's it called? Chun's not threatening without meter and go, oh, I can rush her down. You can't rush Chun down. That's what she wants, even without meter, because you're going to run into Stand Fierce. She's going to build meter, and now she got her game plan going. So it's like Chun and Yun are actually very, very good. They're very hard to fight against. But, it's to the point where like Japan is playing at that level where it's like you're going to have to pick a good character unless you're TM.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mr. Kitty Diddler Kuroda himself. But,
oh man.
but it's like
but
it's like you got like character specials still on Third Strike, but the level Japan is playing is they're playing at the level where those top tiers are actually that good. They're genuinely that good. That it's a thing with 2i, and the thing happens in 2i as well, where it's like for the like genuinely, if people play 2i seriously, I doubt Urien would be viable. I doubt I'd want to be playing Urien.
But because of the neutral factor, right? Like all these characters, like Akuma exists.
Yeah.
Akuma, Sean, Ibuki, and Twins. outside of those 5, I don't think there's many characters that are viable.
Even like Dudley and Ryu.
I think Ryu you could say maybe, but I think once you go below Sean, who is like number 5, clean for me. I think once you go below like we'll just say number 5, right? Once you go below top 5, you're pushing it.
You're in trouble.
Yeah,
you're in trouble. I
And
hope
this
you're
brings
good
us-
with that character.
I think this
I
brings us
hope
back
you're
to
good
the
with that
question
character.
of like, is the game interesting and fun within those top 5? And it is, right? It's hilarious. It's second
Yeah,
impact.
I think 2i is an amazing game. Like I wanna sit there and go like, it's a funny Kusoge. No, but I genuinely love and enjoy that game. I think it is genuinely a good game. Like that's one of those games where it's like you would assume, it's just Kusoge 3S, but it's like no, it's more to it than that. Yeah, the game's barely held together. Let's not get into this. The game's barely
It's
held
at least
together.
finished.
I think
you can say that
it's
over like
genuinely new gen.
yeah.
But like 2i is genuinely a great game. I do hope that like people take it a little bit more seriously and hopefully develop the meta instead of picking Alex like half of you fucking do.
Bruh.
But
Oh my god.
Why would you ever pick Alex in second impact in any Street Fighter 3?
because stun gun headbutt does like stun and I can do like 70%. It's like shut the fuck up. Pick a different character.
This is reminding
Have
me.
you tried? Have you considered picking a game plan that actually works?
Yeah. It's like no, genuinely. Sorry, I'm gonna interject. I'm gonna shit on a person who follows me on Twitter. And listen, if you get around to watching this, let it be known I'm so glad I ratioed you for this.
Sorry,
but-
Oomphy, it's for your own good.
Sorry, it's actually for your own good. But someone replied to me on Twitter, and I was like, "You're not quirky. You're not quirky for picking like a shit super in 3S, right?" And someone went like, "I pick SA3 so I can do flash chop into SA3 on block, and they can't jump out of it." And my response was, I press stand jab because I'm not a fucking idiot. Genuinely, you want to get out of like flash chop into stun gun headbutt. You like unless you're playing Makoto can dash out. But if you're playing any other character, you can just stand jab him, and he's wasted his meter.
Yeah.
Now, like, yes, it isn't jumpable. You can't jump
just
it.
a
That's
knowledge
true.
check.
That's true. It's a knowledge check that's beaten by pressing a single fucking button. It's pressing stand jab. Like you block flash chop. If you block flash chop, you can actually just stand jab. Like, come on, dog. Like,
yeah. And
but no. But what gets me is the response to like. So I ended up quote retweeting the tweet, right, with ratio plus L plus pick SA2, and it's the video of me blocking the setup and pressing stand jab, and he gets like hit out of it.
yeah.
This motherfucker responds. I'm gonna call you motherfucker because that's what you are. Motherfucker responds. Okay, I'll just pick SA1 then. It's like no.
That's even worse.
Do you not understand that I'm trying to help you?
I'm trying to lead you into the right path, my guy. I'm trying to lead you. Open your eyes. I'm trying to like protect you from the horrors of playing a shit character in a fighting game. Right? Because I've been there before. I played Zangief Hawk. I've been there.
Well, this comes back to like when I first, which is like, okay, so I think something to understand about like, and this is still on that topic of like, well, balance is like, if you've got a game where a small subset of characters are like clearly better than everyone else to the point that they make very few other characters actually worth playing, then it's the question becomes, is the game with this small selection of characters still fun? And in a lot of instances, I think it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, because like, okay.
So can I just respond to chat really quickly, by the way?
Okay.
Postjam said, what's that saying about leading a horse into water? Yeah, I led the horse to water. He fucking drowned.
What's the old Seth Killian saying? You can lead a scrub to water, but you can't make him think.
Yeah,
facts.
It's like the age-old poem, like roses are red, violets are blue. People don't pick good supers in Third Strike.
but yeah, so like I'm gonna point to CVS2 here because like the game does have gaps within its tiers, but like it's not. I think it's not until you get to like really the lower third of the cast where a character is like, do not pick this character. Like, I don't care how much you like rival schools. If I catch your ass picking Kyosuke, it's over.
I was gonna say, like, you know, Billy Bob on Twitter goes like, "OMG, I want to play Dan because he's so funny." No, it's not funny. It's not funny.
No, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah, it's a cry for help.
Joke to you, but like,
listen, I want to talk shit. But then there's like Gunter. Gunter is like an amazing A group king. Like, and yeah, you could argue like, oh, but he's the only person playing A group. He's still good. Still great with that fucking character.
It's like if you're that good at the game, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, I don't know their name, but like in the Japanese CVS2 streams, they run it like Big One, the one that Boss runs all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, there's this one guy who plays like A groove fucking like Yuri, Kim, and someone else.
What a weird fucking pick.
I don't know why the fuck. Like, I'm already baffled at picking Kim in any groove that isn't C groove, but this guy seems to make it work. And it's like, well, okay, you know, fucking. If you're good at the game, you can do whatever you want. And it's not like any of those characters are like irredeemably bad. Right?
That's the thing, right? That's the thing, right? People look at good players do things with shit characters and think that's them. You are not them. Yeah, you are not. You are not Hayao. You are not.
Like
Hayao.
they watch Inaba play. They watch Inaba play some like fucking S groove Rugal or something, and they're like, "Damn, I can do that." No, you can't.
Yeah, unless your name is Silent Scope, you are not going to fucking playing. You're not playing Rugal.
Yeah, but the point that I wanted to make is that this is something that is like, because on some subconscious level, like, because I do really love CVS2. It's my favorite Street Fighter game, and it's a Street Fighter game.
CVS2 is a Street Fighter game.
No. Listen, no. I will not accept this. I will not accept this.
Okay. So it's my favorite game that plays like Street Fighter. All right, I'm not. For your sake, I won't say it's Street Fighter.
My favorite. I
love you, Oren. Thank you for considering my feelings in this healthy discussion.
So it's definitely one of my favorite, like, you know, games that
it's grounded, right? Honest, footsies based.
It's the crossover game.
Yeah, CVS2 is great. So I genuinely really do love that game. But like for some time, I think on some level I was kind of subconsciously avoiding playing Sagat. And that's a holdover from wanting to be a hipster years and years ago, right?
I am so glad I yelled at you.
Yes, right?
I yelled at you. I yelled at you, just pick Sagat. And the moment you picked him, you started enjoying the game. You were like, your third Ioman. It's like,
I mean, I liked the game already, but here's the thing, like, I didn't expect, because like I don't really know what I expected from Sagat, but I picked Sagat and I pressed low fierce and I'm like, this character fucking rules. And that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying,
right? Like, and here's the thing to understand. If a game is defined by like 3 to 5, like, I think 5 is a good number of characters to have, like, you know, be a relevant top tier in a game, or like, you know, a group of characters that's like
strong.
Yeah, pick one of these 5 and you're in good hands, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Sagat is incredibly fun.
Sagat's awesome. Sagat is like, here's the thing, like, you know, with these kinds of, you know, small groupings of characters, it's like, the lesson that I took away from picking Sagat is that you are not too good to pick a top tier, because in 9 times out of 10, people play top tiers in fighting games because they are fun. And you are not too good to have fun.
You are not above having fun. Genuinely, right? It's like a lot of the people are like, I don't want to pick a top tier because, like, you know, maybe like, you know, first name bunch of numbers on Twitter is gonna call me like a carry tryhard. It's like, bro, be a carry tryhard. You're gonna fucking win. Like,
Yeah, you're gonna beat them. Like, who fucking cares what they
like,
think?
like
The most important thing
how would that apply to
look,
Smash or other
hold
platform?
on.
I still think you should pick good
I could,
characters in
like,
Smash.
I can talk a bit
I
about
like,
Smash, but look, the main thing is like you need to. Everyone who's worried about balance needs to actually play the game and get to a point where you're put in situations where
It matters. It matters.
Either you figure out that, like, you know, things are this unfavorable for you, or you figure out, okay, I need to learn about this matchup. I need to learn about this neutral interaction, this pressure string, because there's probably something you're missing, or, you know, you don't know what the execution is like. But
Well,
yeah,
I do think there are exceptions to that because there's characters like Blitztank in Akatsuki who you have to play him different from the rest of the cast to succeed.
there are
And
characters
so
that,
you're
like,
not going to be learning your fundamentals and how the flow of the game works when you're
I
playing
think there
them.
also are characters that are, like, kind of too weak and are kind of a waste of time, I think. You know, you have characters like, I think, you know, Phelan in Karnav's Revenge kind of doesn't have any outstanding positives. She has a really slow fireball. She has a, you know, flash kick for some reason that doesn't have much forward movement. She doesn't have good combo. She doesn't have good damage. Her throw even separates her full screen, so she doesn't get much of a mix-up off that. There's, like, nothing really going for her. And that cops up sometimes in a lot of old games, but I think that's also a lot rarer than people think it is.
I think the argument that, like, there's so many characters who are just not worth playing. It's a rare case amongst fighting games in the first place. Like, yeah, you can bring up Marvel 2, but we already discussed in the beginning of the stream that, like, Marvel 2 is balanced, but it's balanced among those top tiers, and those are the characters that matter. And it's already fun if you are playing Marvel 2 within those top tiers. It is okay to say that you don't understand what makes Marvel 2 great. Because anyone who talks about how much better Marvel 2 would be if it was more balanced, don't play Marvel 2, don't understand what makes Marvel 2 good. And, you know, Marvel 2 might just not be for you. Like, it's simple as, like,
in other words,
not
L plus
every
ratio
game,
plus
like,
Magneto.
This is
like,
this gets to something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, like, you know, because you know how the people, like, you know, lots of, like, weirdos will say, like, oh, the FGC's gone soft, and they're talking about how people are, like, you know, being respectful of other people's, like, fucking personal space and identity and stuff like that. So that's wrong. But the FGC has gone soft in the sense that nobody understands how to accept the game at face value anymore. Because, like,
yes,
you know,
I agree.
You fucking you like exactly what you were saying, Heather. Like, you know, you gotta accept that Marvel 2 is at a point where, like, the top tiers in that game are playing a fundamentally different version of Marvel 2 from everybody else. And the reason that people have stuck with the top tiers is because the version of Marvel 2 that those characters are playing is more fun.
Yes,
it is like that version of Marvel 2 is the game where you get to do, like, fucked up tri-dash mix-ups with Magneto, and you get to do crazy unfly combos with Sentinel, and you get to, like, do all this fucking awesome shit that you've, like, really worked out, and you've got, like, you know, you get to convert any fucking random shit into the Iron Man Infinite and stuff like that.
Awesome.
That shit's cool. That shit is cool as fuck.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And I don't care about what some nobody has to say about, like, but OMG, I want to play Thanos in my fucking Marvel 2. Like, shut the fuck up. Just pick a good character.
It's really not about what you can't do is the thing. It's about what you can do. It's about what. And
it's about what can you do? What can you do in a fighting game? And it's what you can do actually fun. And 9 out of 10 times, it's really fucking fun. Now, what I will say is that, yeah, Marvel 2 having, like, 12 viable characters, it can be a turnoff. But the problem is, right, is, like, how are you going to know if the game is for you if you don't actually play within those, like, small characters?
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
Like, I do want to.
If you aren't having fun with those 12 characters, then yeah, the game is not for you. That's fine.
I do want to fully address the platform fighter question too. Sorry, just because I only have so much time left. So we've talked about Melee and Brawl being so, you know, top tier centric. Because the thing with Brawl is that if you remove someone like Meta Knight, you know, Ice Climber become dominant. If you remove them, like, it's Olimar, Snake, like, Marth, Falco,
you get, like,
a
top 3 of, like, Olimar, Snake, ZSS, Diddy.
Oh yeah, ZSS, Diddy are also really fucked up. But in terms of, like, I think a game like Smash 4 and Ultimate has so many characters and like
Falco was fine in Brawl.
What, Meta
I think
Knight?
Falco was fine in.
Falco in Brawl.
Falco was fine.
He was like pretty good. I think just like
shy out of top. Shy out of top
everyone. Falco was like DDD, but top tier.
Yeah. So it's like, but then you have like Fox who sucks.
I think the main thing is like in most platform fighters, even then again, I don't know, because like there's a pretty narrow selection of like platform fighters that are good.
Yeah, there's
no
not
offense.
Much.
There's like Smash series, there's Rivals of Aether, and I think Rivals is like a game where they did a really good job of designing
don't diss my goat. Don't diss my goat. Fucking PlayStation Ultimate Battle Royale. Don't diss my goat. That's my goat. I got punched in the face over that game.
That game sucked as soon as they removed Dante's empty cancels.
But yeah, I think that
game sucked when they removed like the actual like servers from the fucking game and it no longer works online. It had rollback, by the way.
Yep.
The thing that makes most platform fighters tick is movement, really. But the thing is, like every moment-to-moment interaction is so important, like in terms of combos and like pressure, edge guarding, especially, that it's really hard to like nail down a matchup or like lab things out and have a 100% answer to all these situations. So it really becomes about player skill. That's why you see people like Amsa and Melee succeed with Yoshi, who is like a pretty mid-tier character. He's risen up a bit, but I think that's people seeing the results of Amsa and assuming that the character is that good. And he does have unique gimmicks, but he also has weaknesses like his recovery being dependent on double jump, which you can just the double jump armor.
It also reminds me of like the period. Also reminds me of the period of time where Hungry Box was dominating Melee, and like that actually had some people thinking that Jigglypuff was the top one best character in the game, which is like in retrospect that's fucking insane. But
some people still think she's top one, and it is insane.
Yeah, no, that's But yeah, so like but the point that I was getting at with like being able to judge a game at face value is no shade to ZombiMU, but anyone who thinks that we should ban Swiftmaster in DNF Duel, shut the fuck up.
Man, people are going to see this and like try to continue the argument with me, and it's like, look, I wanted to drop that. I wanted to get it out of my system. I do think it's whack. I also think it sucks that people...
You argue that with me.
I think it sucks that people are like option selecting. Oh, it was just one tournament. It's just like a shit post. But also, we should. Where are the other tournaments? We should do more of this. It's like, which one? Yeah. Is this the direction you want the game to go in or not?
But saying it's a joke.
Also, I will actually straight up say, because I do want to say this, I think people looked at the Labco 21 ban, which was okay. I'm going to be completely honest. Labco 21 ban was completely valid. For the reason that it was valid for the reasons that it would take too much time to actually complete a tournament with that state of Labco 21. Ultimately, that was the reason Bum banned that character from his tournaments, and
he was right.
It would take too fucking long
to do it.
He was right to do it.
He was right to do it because it's like DBFZ already takes so fucking long to actually like complete a game. Labco 21 getting banned like the only reason wasn't that like the debuffs themselves were like fucking like obnoxious to deal with in the sense that it was like, wow, this makes my character so much worse. It was obnoxious to deal with in the sense that now every game takes 1 billion times longer and no TO is going to want to fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And players don't want to deal with that either because like DBFZ is a really fucking slow game. And that's something that like the players of DBFZ, like I've spoken to multiple DBFZ players who have said like, yeah, this game takes too fucking long to play. Like they do love it, but it's just like matches can be a slog already. And then you have this character in here who comes in and she's like, her entire gimmick is that she decreases your damage by 21%.
I can't believe they thought that would be a good idea, right?
Yeah, no, like
you want to talk about how much insight, people know how to design fighting games nowadays. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
We still haven't figured
No.
it out.
Yeah. But
Like,
like, the thing is, right? People looked at the Labco 21 ban, saw that shit, and went, what if we applied this and started banning more characters in other fighting games? And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way, because why are those characters getting banned in the first place?
Because they're too good. I can't win.
Yeah.
The reason that people
Also, it's too early. It's
question.
week one.
That's
It's
a question of
no.
accepting the game,
you gotta understand.
Right? It's playing the game.
You gotta understand, the game's been out for like over 2 weeks now. That means that the meta is solved until the next balance patch. That's how fighting games work now, right?
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
That's the public perception now, though, because you have like people complaining about Souls having a plus / for weeks on end. Because people don't want to adapt.
The problem with like Soul is just like the game provides so little for you to do. Right? Like, what do you do in that game? What's your defense? It's nothing. It's block more. It's maybe
the problem in Strive is not that Soul's / was plus. It's that Strive has no fucking defensive options for you to utilize. Like, what? You're just gonna hit? Yeah, sure. Let me just hit the 2-frame instant block window. Sure thing.
I'm different. I would have done that.
I can't believe that, you know.
You would have.
I forgot that instant block only reduces push block and doesn't change hit stun. It doesn't change block stun. It's like, oh, cool. I instant blocked /. Now he's in my face.
We lost so much when like Street Fighter V decided to like normalize not having invincible DPs or like meterless ones, but like Guilty Gear Strive, all the DPs are like only throw and vuln, right? So they're just, or rather, they're not throwing.
No, they're only
strike and vuln.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that means if you try to tick throw off like a slightly plus normal, you just snatch them. It's kind of stupid, to be honest.
I will say though, right? I think SF5 and what it did to reversals within the game itself actually works really well. Because SF5 as a game is one that's, and obviously like people can shit on SF5. I'll be SF5 Defense Force for 1 second and go, you're shitting on the game based on what it was in season 1 through 3. And not what it is now, which is genuinely a very good game.
Yeah, season 5 SF5 fucking, that's great.
It's great.
I didn't play it, but like it's good.
It's not for me. I will say upfront, it's not for me, and I wouldn't really play it competitively.
Yeah.
I also think it's too late for me to play competitively. But SF5 as a game at the moment is perfectly fine. Do not say, I will not be playing 6. I will not be playing 6, I don't think.
Understandable.
But like what for me, right? I think SF5 as a game at the moment is designed incredibly well. And it's not because of everything's so homogenized and everything just makes sense. And that's partially it. It being an incredibly intuitive fighting game is why it is so well designed. But also, like, how do characters interact with themselves in that game? And it's very, very well. I think every character, unless your name is Geef, can do very reasonably well amongst the cast. Obviously, there's characters. Obviously, there's the top tiers, but
there are so many matchups, right? But like every matchup that gets played, someone's doing something. It's not like you're in a position where you can't fight back. There's like very few situations where it feels like that.
Defensive mechanics too. You have so many defensive mechanics too, and like V shift, V reversal. And you have the ability to actually mix up your quick rise and back rise. And that can kill certain setups for some characters. And there is a mind game based on how you wake up. Oh, you delayed get up. So now, command grab setup, like a grappler setup might not really be as effective because they haven't been able, they were looking for like, I don't know, a quick rise or a back rise. But like there's these neutral in that game is super, like, it flows incredibly well. And I think people were too focused on what it was in, season 1, season 2, where it was like, whatever the fuck happened in season 1, season 2. I'm sure SF5 players don't even want to remember either.
Wasn't Mika fucked up?
Mika was fucked up in season 1.
Yeah.
God!
But
Season
basically,
1 Mika gives me
but
nightmares.
basically, it's like SF5 as a game at the moment just plays well. Yeah,
Mhm.
sure, you can argue that it's not the most interesting in the world, but the fact it plays as well as it does is a testament to how improved SF5 ended up being.
Like, honestly, I
And-
think it's incredibly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's great to watch. But it's like, but I think people look at, but there's no execution. But now all the emphasis is on decision making, and it's exposing the fuck out of players.
Yeah.
And that's a completely valid way to design a fighting game too. Like, you can absolutely do you can absolutely make a game where there are varying levels of execution checks,
And
you can make a game where there's very few of them, and it's like, as long as you design your game with that focus in mind, then it can be good.
And keep in mind, SF5 has characters with really high execution level.
Yeah.
SF5 has Manat. SF5 has Dawson. SF5 has Dan. Like, you have characters with they have an execution barrier, and for a game with supposedly zero execution, okay, fucking do a hard Manat combo. Like, if your execution is so good, why aren't you doing Manat shit? Because play that character. Like
Manat, Oro.
You're just mad. You're getting
eventually.
You're partially just mad.
I think
you're partially just mad that you're getting exposed as fuck.
I think everything comes down to play the game, see what you can really do with it, and you can't understand too much about a game just by watching it. You can learn, but you can only get so far there, I think. At this point, I want to kind of wrap things up. Is there anything that we haven't touched on? Anyone in chat want to add anything? But yeah, I think Mib, if you have anything to say, you can go first.
Characters.
I
think there's just not too much. I mean, how many instances of banned characters are there in games that have endured? Games that tried bans that haven't lasted.
Of course.
There
were. I mean, the ban in Brawl didn't even happen. It was talked about for a while, but it never even happened.
Which one? Barely happened. Meta Knight barely happened.
More Meta Knight Brawl
barely happened.
Meta Knight is weird because people didn't want to enter tournaments where he was banned because they were so used to playing Meta Knight. And top players have so much influence in Smash where you can just do that. You can say, all right, I'm not coming to your tournament, and now people don't care about that tournament.
Yeah. And Brawl had the Meta Knight situation, which was kind of a ban.
And if you ban Meta Knight, then Ice Climbers become a problem. And
Street Fighter, Super Turbo Kuma.
Missing Link Justice.
Boss characters.
The only other character I can think of that is available in an arcade game that's banned, or I guess Hear You in Survival Arts, but that's such a deep pull.
JoJo's.
Yeah,
JoJo's one of the more high-profile ones.
There was actually that new ban because obviously they had Pet Shop banned for a really long time, and
people
now
figured out
Crackling banned because he's
Crackling's been banned in Japan for forever, but they only banned him in North America recently.
Yep, difference in execution, skill issue.
Yeah,
I think we can end the stream on that note, but no, go ahead.
I do want to say that the most modern example of a ban outside of the Lapco 21 ban, which was temporary, Chrono Phantasma Kokonoe, who was absolutely fucking disgusting and genuinely probably Chrono Phantasma Kokonoe. Yes,
1.0 Kokonoe, CP 1.0 Kokonoe had to be banned. That was
under the impression that they
genuinely
let her. The patch that nerfed her came out too fast for them to come to a decision on that.
But basically when that shit happened, it was everyone was like, yeah, she should definitely be banned. Basically everyone agreed that dealing with Chrono Phantasma Kokonoe, not a fun time.
Nope.
Because it was 100% off and unblockable.
Yeah, 100% unblockable that did mad damage.
It was okay, this is the point I wanted to make about those kind of things have to be it depends on the environment the game itself is in, and that comes back to my original definition of balance being how the ecosystem in which a character interacts in, within themselves or the system. Because that probably wouldn't be obnoxious, like characters who can like kill you off and unblockable. That's happened before. Urian in 2Y and 3S, right? Like,
it's all about how much you have to work to get into that position where the game is effectively won,
or how characters can, or how players can deal with said positions. Because ultimately, Urian unblockables are, they're really strong, but they're ultimately still a mix-up. There is still a mix-up. It's a mix-up that it's the mix, like in 2Y, it's just genuinely a 50-50 that you can mix up with low-high. But it's a left-right 50-50, like first and foremost. And the difference between left and right is 1 frame.
Damn.
But as long as you make that guess, you block it. It's still called an unblockable because who the fuck is going to be making that guess consciously?
Yeah, it was a similar deal with the quote unquote unblockables in like late Street Fighter 4, right?
Sort
it's like technically you can block it, but like, are you actually blocking it?
That's how plus our unblockables are too.
SF4 Dawson,
man,
who like throws you Yoga Catastrophe, teleports. Wow, I had to guess 50-50 how many times?
And Dawson was like, how good was Dawson at the end of like that game's life?
Okay, SF4 Dawson is in a weird position. He was strong, but he lost to dive kick characters.
Rip, fucking gone. That's the thing, and that's matchups 101. It's like that simple, right? Obviously, every matchup is a lot deeper in practice, but the fact is, if you have a glaring weakness like that, there's only so much you can do, right? Sometimes.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Like, I think that's a good note to end it on. And it's like, just fucking play fighting games, dog. Like, it's not hard. Like to just sit down, play a fighting game, and enjoy it. And like, also,
I think
you're not you're not good enough to like avoid playing top tiers.
Facts.
Yeah. As long as you
and like,
don't
I think
play
if there's
a
one
shitty
thing,
game.
if there's one thing that one last thing that I do want to end on is it's a more generic thing. It's just like, when you approach a new fighting game, whether it's like new for you or like brand new for everybody, like it's just come out, the most important thing that you can do is like try to understand the game for what it is right now and not what you wish it was. Because ultimately, like, you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment after disappointment if you keep playing this game expecting it to be something that it's like materially not going to be. And on that, like sort of
like
extending on from that as well,
I wish like DNF had air blocking or burst, right? But it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So like, make your judgments based on that. And if your judgment is that I don't think I like DNF Duel very much, that's fine. But conversely, it's just like, I don't have fun playing against Swiftmaster. Then it's like, well, the answer is you either like find an answer to like fighting Swiftmaster,
I think,
or you just say, oh, okay, so if Swiftmaster's in this game and I'm fighting Swiftmaster a lot and I don't like it and I can't find any answers that make it more enjoyable, so just don't play DNF Duel. Like that's
okay.
fine.
You know what it is what it is? It's oh my god, this podcast is gonna go forever. But what it is, it's the fear of missing out. It's FOMO. It's major FOMO that the FGC has.
Yep.
It's like,
Oh yeah,
I want to enjoy this new game. You don't have to. Why do you think most of us play retro fighters? Not gonna lie, it's because we don't really enjoy modern fighters. And it's not because we don't want to enjoy modern fighters. We've given it a shot and we just haven't enjoyed it, so we stick to what we like. It's simple. That's all you have. And fighting games are still video games at the end of the day. And you don't have to treat them like they're something bigger.
If there is one thing that I do want to say is that if you think that something is potentially a problem in a game, you need to put in the effort to proving that it is a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, because like the methodology behind the quote unquote joke tournament where Swiftmaster was banned was just like, well, okay, so people want to ban. If people say, oh, if we ban Swiftmaster, then another top tier is going to rise up instead. It's like, well, okay, well, let's test that theory. It's like, okay, I understand that methodology, but that makes no sense right now because we haven't sufficiently proven that Swiftmaster is a problem just because, like, you're all losing because you're, like, it's like, okay, Swiftmaster's got, like, a 9-frame 5B that moves him, like, fucking a third of the screen or whatever. Okay, have you tried, like, spacing? Like, have you tried stopping the approach? Like,
I think like the problem
to be
is
fair,
when you look at a
it's
character,
unreactable and is incredibly difficult to outspace.
I think the question is like, look, if a character is that good, because and someone brought up to me, I think it was Yutkundo, which nice tag, pretty insightful guy as far as fighting games go. Very big proponent of like Gundam EX versus Mbon or whatever that full title is. But my point is, he said like, you know, at the rate at which people play games and lab and like share tech, people have squeezed what were effectively used to be like years of research into like you know, a month. And I think that's partially true, but I think until you actually see high stakes tournament results, like Evo is coming up in a couple weeks. DNF is bigger than some of the main games. I think it's like 300 something entrants. It's bigger than Melty Blood. No offense, Melty Blood. That's going to be a big tournament. That's where we're going to see if Swiftmaster dominates or not, right? Doesn't make sense to make a call before that.
Like, just wait for tournaments to legitimately happen. And I'm not talking about like that 8-man local you decide to make up one day and get like 300 likes over. I'm talking about a deadass local that, you know, you like not deadass, like a deadass major. Like, wait for majors to happen. Wait for what, you know, majors or, you know, regionals. Wait for that shit to actually happen. Look at what the results are. If it is genuinely concerning, then try to come to a decision at that point. But not 3 weeks in when we didn't even have a fucking major to actually like do anything. I don't play DNF. I won't play DNF. DNF just isn't for me. Because I don't think aiding has made a good game after like some of their Naruto stuff. But
okay, respect for naming Naruto.
I will fight you on that,
and
but not
like
here.
TVC or something.
Okay, TVC. We can give TVC.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
I mean, like TVC is like the good. It's their most solid game, I think, right?
Listen. Okay, to be fair, I don't like Marvel 3, so that's where I'm coming from. I don't really like Marvel 3.
Respect.
That's fair. And you probably haven't played Bloody Roar at all, right?
I don't fuck with Bloody Roar. Was that after some of the Naruto stuff?
It was like in between. They were kind of working on that.
Bloody Roar 3 and Extreme.
Yeah, no, Bloody Roar. Yeah, I like Bloody Roar.
All right.
Okay. Anything after Bloody Roar.
At this point, I'm gonna have to go in like a minute, so I think that's basically all we have to say on like balance.
Okay. TLDR. If
play
you're not
fighting
playing
games, approach them on their own terms, and you'll be better for it.
Yo, listen to my mixtape.
Yes. Play Akatsuki Blitzcamp.
Yeah. Play TMNT Cross Justice League, or if you want something that's on Fightcade with rollback, play Karna's Revenge. The game's sick.
True, play Karna's Revenge. That game fucks.
All right, I'm gonna throw it over to Crow Spaceball, who is streaming some 3D Fightcade stuff. It might be like Giant Graham or whatever. 3D Fightcade stuff is like so unexplored. Yeah, he's been playing a bunch of Plasma Sword too. Those games are sick. Those games also really deserve to like be explored.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out. Peace.
So long.
Later.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
All right.
All right.